Good afternoon to everyone. And thank you so much for joining us tonight for our Top Scholarship Strategies webinar. I'm super excited to have this opportunity to talk to you more about scholarships and some strategies that really do work. I would like to thank Ms. Shakita Waller for the opportunity to partner with the Housing Opportunities Commission. And I do want to turn it over to you just to see if you have any opening remarks.
Yes, good evening. I see some familiar names and faces. Again, I am Chiquita Waller, the program specialist for the Adult Education Workforce Development Program. And the Adult Education Workforce Development Program, otherwise known as AEWD, is the agency's effort to promote self-empowerment, achievement, and upward mobility among residents by connecting them to career training and educational services. The program is designed to meet residents at their individual levels of need and then pave a pathway for them to achieve their career and educational goals. Through partnerships with Montgomery College and other community organizations, AEWD program provides tuition assistance, employment and internship opportunities, employment readiness workshops, referrals for GED, vocational training, financial aid, and FAFSA application, along with professional clothing. So without further ado, I want to introduce everyone to Dr. Murray, who will be our presenter this evening. Oh, and also if you could check the chat and click on the link for the participation program sheet for your attendance this evening.
All right, well, thank you, Shakita. I am Dr. Christie Murray, and I'm the CEO of Educational Excellence Incorporated, and I focus a lot on professional development, educational services and resources, and I do work a lot with young adults, helping them to get into college and graduate debt-free. And so as a part of that series, I certainly focus on making sure that I do my part sharing top scholarship strategies. So tonight we're going to talk a bit about the different type of scholarships. We're going to talk about financial aid. We'll talk about how to search for top scholarships, finding scholarships that are less competitive, which are the ones that I absolutely love. We'll talk about how to write a winning essay, and then how to go about applying for scholarships themselves. So as we get started, let's see. So today I'm just going to share with you, the purpose of the workshop is to really share impactful strategies, not just things that you probably already know, but hopefully you'll walk away with some things that you didn't know that'll help you to do a better job applying for scholarships. Let me know in the chat if you are currently in college or working on your education. Maybe you are a working professional, but you're going back to school, whether you're a full-time student, or you're not in school right now, but you're thinking about it. Just let me know what your situation is in the chat so that I can speak to some of your situations as we're talking today. All right, good. We have a parent of a college sophomore. Okay. Thank you for joining. How about some of the others on? Go ahead and share in the chat while I'm talking, and I would love to make sure I understand what you might need to get from the workshop. Even if you want to share that with me, what would you like to understand about scholarships from tonight's workshop? And my main focus is to make sure that if you're trying to either get into college or stay in college or get an education, whether it's a 2-year, 4-year school, go to a trade school, many people don't realize that there are scholarships out there for all those different type of situations. So let's talk about some of those as we are on tonight. Okay, Travis, I see that. Thank you. So if you're not in school, but you're wanting to get in school and figure out how to fund your education, this is the place to be. Now, one of the things that probably brought you to register for tonight's Top Scholarship Strategies webinar is your why. So whether it's like Travis saying, hey, I want to start school, or Roxanne say, hey, I'm a parent and I'm funding it, I can relate to that too, because I have 2 sons currently in college, and college is not cheap and they're in my pocket. And let me just say that I totally get it. And so, whatever your why is that brought you to tonight's webinar, think about that as we're moving forward and make sure that you walk away with questions answered that will help you. So, at any point, come off of mute, type something in the chat if you have a question. We have a smaller group, which I love. So, these give me the ability to be more interactive and to answer your questions. So, don't feel like you can't ask any questions, because I'll be honest, the only dumb question is the one you don't ask. So I want you to make sure that you have that opportunity. All right. So as you think about your why, let me share a little bit about mine. I years ago, how I got into this space. I'm an electrical engineer by background, but when I was in high school, my senior year, I wanted to go to Hampton University. I'd gone to visit all these colleges, and then I came home after visiting Hampton and told my parents, I know where I want to go. I want to go to Hampton. I want to major in engineering. And my mother said, you know, your older two twin sisters are both in college right now. We can't afford Hampton. Hampton is a private school and it's expensive. So you'll have to choose somewhere else. And I was like, well, I really don't want to go anywhere else. This is really where I could see myself going to school. And so my mother and I went back and forth, and she finally said, well, Christy, if you want to go to Hampton, I don't want to discourage you from going, but I want you to figure out how to help pay for it. So I made it my mission my senior year to write essays, to write applications, to get letters of recommendation, all those things in orders, because I knew I was going to have to do a heavy lift with scholarships. And one day I was in school, and my school counselor at the time, she pulled me out of class and she said, hey, Christy, what if I told you that I just ran into this company who wants to pay for scholarships for students, and in particular, those who are going to Hampton University and they're interested in majoring in electrical engineering or engineering, period. Would you be interested? And I was like, heck yeah. Now, what's the likelihood that a company was offering a scholarship for exactly what I wanted to do? And she said, so there's only one caveat. You have to have your application in the mail postmark by tomorrow. The deadline is tomorrow. Can you make that happen? Now, this was back in 1993, pre-internet, so it wasn't like I was going to send it online, because we didn't have the internet quite yet. It was actually just coming on online. So I looked at my school counselor and I said, can you get my transcripts out that quick? Because, you know, transcripts are part of the process. And she laughed and she said, we'll make sure your transcripts get out. Meanwhile, I went home and I pulled from those letters of recommendation I already had pre-drafted and had recommenders already give me extra copies of. I was able to quickly tweak my essay because I had many different versions of the draft of it and more. I got that application in the mail. The company reached out to me twice to interview. I had to go through 2 panel interviews as a high school senior. And long story short, I did end up getting awarded that scholarship for, it was a 5-year scholarship because I was a 5-year engineering student. And it also included summer internships every summer that I was in college and a full-time job the day I graduated from college, not high school, from college. And I had that entire package the day I walked across the high school stage. And the reason why I share that story with y'all is because I understand. I understand when you have multiple young people in school, or you have financial challenges that prohibit you from paying for it completely out of pocket. I understand from so many different angles what it takes and how you can apply for 30 scholarships and not hear back from any of them, or you apply for 50 and you only hear back from one. So that is the reason why when I got that scholarship, I said that I would make it my business to help other students, whether they're going to go to a private school, public school, whether they want to go to a 2-year school, 4-year school, or a vocational school. I want to help you to figure out how to fund your education. So that led me to writing 2 books, College Planning Strategies I Wish Someone Had Told Me. That's really about how to get accepted into the colleges and all that goes into the college admissions process. But it was interesting because after I wrote that book, I had so many families say to me, well, Dr. Christie, we got in, but now we're trying to figure out how to pay for it. And I said, so now I have the second book, College Funding Strategies I Wish Someone Had Told Me. Now, ironically, I'm working on my 3rd book, and it's called Young Adult strategies I wish someone had told me. And these are really chronicles from my sons who are currently in college and my nieces and nephews and other young people in my life who are struggling, y'all, with some basic professional and employment things and life skills. And it's almost borderline hilarious, some of the things that they struggle with, but I get it. So that'll be my third book. But my other why in this space tonight is because I've won scholarships. I've also judged scholarships and I give out scholarships also. So if you want to know how somebody's going to evaluate your scholarship, I can give you insight. If you want to know what type of scholarships people generally want to give funding for, I can also give you insight. And if you want to know what it takes to win and get awarded scholarships, I can do that as well. So as I kick off tonight's discussion, how do you know if you need scholarships? One of the key ways that you'll know is when you complete, if you're going to college, for example, and two things you'll do before you really know if you need scholarships, unless you just know you can't afford it out of pocket. The first thing is you'll need to apply to the school. So whether you want to go to a vocational school and focus on something specialized like becoming an electrician, a plumber, a cosmetologist, a barber, whatever your vocational skill is, you have to apply and get accepted or make sure they select you for entry. The second thing, most colleges, and I do encourage all the students that I work with to apply for college during the fall of their senior year. Don't wait till the spring because most colleges give away their money on a first come, first served basis. So if you wait till the spring, all the good financial aid will likely be taken up and given out already. So the first thing you want to do after you've applied to colleges is complete the free application for federal student aid, the FAFSA. Let me know in the chat if you've ever heard of the FAFSA. Just type a yes or no in the chat if you've heard of the FAFSA before. Now, this is a very good, I know Roxanne, you have with a sophomore. This is a very great way to get federal financial aid and STEM financial aid. Okay, great, Travis. Great, Stephanie. So you're all familiar with it, but you cannot get federal financial aid if you do not have a FAFSA on file. Every college has to have a copy of your particular report. That means when you're completing the FAFSA, all the colleges you're thinking about attending, you must list them so that they can automatically, the federal government can send them your specific financial aid report. All right. So when you do get your GED, Travis, you will still use your GED, diploma, and any other transcript related information. And then you can start applying to colleges and applying for financial aid and scholarships. So a GED is another pathway that you can complete your high school diploma. So don't be discouraged by that. And don't let anybody tell you that you can't apply for college or financial aid or scholarships, because yes, you can. So I hope that helps. So when you get to that point, you will make sure you specify the colleges or schools that you want to send your financial aid information to. They usually update that application on October 1st of each year. So guess what's coming up? It's the new FAFSA for the 2025-2026 academic year. We're already in the 2024 and 2025 year now. So the next time you complete your FAFSA, it will be for 2025 and 2026. It does not cost you a penny to apply for the FAFSA. It's a federal government website, and it is free to everyone who needs to complete a FAFSA or desires to. Every year you are in college. So Miss Roxanne, with your sophomore, every year you're in college and you're planning to be in college the next year, you must update and renew your FAFSA form. So if you did it one time, then guess what? You need to do it every year, and it gets easier because it saves your information and you just have to fill in some gaps electronically each year. Travis, so apply before I get the GED. When do you get your GED? Is it coming up May or between now and May of 2025? Let me know in the chat if you're getting your GED within 2024 through like May of 2025? Because if so, then I would consider you kind of in a high school senior status. And that's when I would tell high school seniors to start applying to colleges and also applying for your financial aid. The other thing, Travis, because your situation may be a little different or different path, reach out to the colleges you're thinking about attending, to their admissions office, and find out when they want you to apply. Do they want you to wait until you have your GED, or do they want you to go ahead and start applying now? And each college will tell you more about their specific process. And then based on when they tell you to apply, if they want you to apply this fall, then yes, you should be completing your FAFSA as well. If they want you to wait until after you've gotten your GED, then you want to do your FAFSA at that time when you apply to those schools. All right. Thank you for joining, Monica. I see your question also. I already have my associates, but I want to get my bachelor's, and I'm not sure where to find scholarships, or FAFSA will cover a little bit. Oh, absolutely. So if you were transferring to another school, Monica, to finish your bachelor's, or the school you're currently in, you're going to just transition into a bachelor's degree program, you can still apply for financial aid, and you should still complete the FAFSA because they still cover the cost of a bachelor's degree as well. You will just fill in the information, just as if you filled out the FAFSA for your associate's degree, you'll do something very similar with your bachelor's degree. And your information is already on the federal government website. They'll ask you questions. It's kind of like a TurboTax now, kind of a system, y'all. If you know how they ask you one question, and depending on how you answer, it'll branch you off to the direction you need to go next. I love, love, love. They just updated the FAFSA form back in December 2023. And guess what? It's easier to use. It doesn't take a lot of time. They import your tax information from the IRS if you have any. And so it's more streamlined and straightforward to use. But yes, Monica, definitely fill out the FAFSA. Here's the thing. If you're going to college and you want federal financial aid, scholarships, grants, work study, you need to have the FAFSA complete. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about how that process works. I love this diagram because it helped me to explain it, but it helped families to understand exactly what they need to do. So for all of you, students and parents, so Travis, Monica, associate's degree, Roxanne is a parent, you want to sit down with your child and complete the FAFSA. It'll take you probably 15, 20 minutes max. That's what it took me and my sons when we did it. But you'll also need which colleges you want to attend. Remember, I talked about that. You have to specify what schools you want your information, your calculated financial aid information to go to. You want to specify the colleges. Then once you complete it and you submit your FAFSA, the system is going to calculate what they call a student aid index, SAI. They used to call it a EFC, expected family contribution. That is what they use to tell how much they think you can pay out of pocket. It is not the number that they're going to give you in financial aid. It is how much they think Christie or Roxanne's child, sophomore, or Travis or Monica, how much you can pay out of pocket. They're also going to send those scores to the colleges. You're going to get an email and it's going to say, hey, congratulations, you've completed your FAFSA. Here's a confirmation. And it'll tell you your student aid index. And then the school's also going to get that same information. Once the school gets it in this green box, the colleges will calculate how much financial aid they're going to give you. Every college's calculation is different. So don't expect, if you want to go to Morehouse or you want to go to Morgan State University, they're going to give you two different calculations because they're going to look at what they're offering in financial aid, scholarships, grants, work study, Pell grants, that sort of thing. And they're going to base it on what they have available and what's required in their state in terms of certain grants. But what they'll do is once they calculate it, they're going to send you an awards letter. And this financial aid award letter will come to you sometimes via email, sometimes via the online portal on that university site, generally in the same way you log in to apply. If you log back in, it'll track your financial aid status and information. So you can expect to receive it in one of different ways, depending on the school. But you should be checking your email. So if y'all like my young people, and this is going in my young adulting book, young folks, Gen Z and millennials are bad about, some of them are bad about checking their email every day. So I had my son set up a special email address so that we can all check it to make sure that they're not missing important details or next action steps they should be taking. So once you get it, look it over, and that school, it'll tell you how much money they're planning to offer you. That's in this purple box. What happens if they only offer you student loans? What happens if they offer you no money and they say, hey, Christy, we think you can pay $24,000 out of pocket? Or on the flip side, what if they offer you grants? You got a mix of grants, you got some scholarships, maybe you have a student loan and you're like, hey, this covers all my tuition, room and board. Fantastic. Or if you're just off campus, all my tuition. Great. Then you may have enough money. And so that's when in this orange box at the bottom, that's when the important question comes up. What if you have enough money? If you have enough financial aid from your financial aid award letter, then great. Yes, if the answer is yes, I have enough financial aid, great. No need to look for scholarships. You're likely covered at least that school year. Hopefully your profile won't change much and you'll still qualify for similar amounts the next year. Or if the answer is no, I do not have enough financial aid, and they're crazy if they think I can pay $24,000 or $2,400 out of pocket, whatever that is, then that is the time you need to look for scholarships. That's when you want to look for scholarships. Now, as we talk about different types of funding sources, I will tell you that student loans are generally available. They have the subsidized and unsubsidized student loans. Each year, the federal government gives out student loans to students. And right now, there's over $1.7 trillion worth of student loan debt in the US. 46 million people in this country have student loans. And they average about $32,000 per person. So the reason why I love to advocate for scholarships is to keep you from having to go broke or to keep you from having to take out a lot of student loans that will leave you in financial debt for years to come, long after you've got your degree. So anything we can do to minimize that is what we're wanting to do with the scholarship discussion. Now, if you didn't know the definition of scholarships, let me give you mine, because scholarships and grants really are my favorite kind of money. Why? Because they're gifts. They're gift aid, they're gift funds that you do not have to pay back. Unlike your dear old student loans, once you start accruing student loan debt, they're going to want you to pay it back, and in many cases, pay it back with interest. So I want to make sure you're looking for scholarships and grants. Sometimes you can find grants to cover the cost of your education too, or some portion of your cost. But scholarships are another great way because you do not have to pay anyone back. So that is why I spend a lot of time working with individuals about how to graduate from school debt-free. Because you want to find funding, you want to know about the different approaches you can take to pay for an education without struggling financially to do so or taking out a lot of debt. And so when I wrote my second book, College Funding Strategies, I wish someone had told me. I actually broke down different strategies because I want you to know that you can get a debt-free education, but you've got to be willing to put in the work, which is why the first chapter is take responsibility. Because if you're not willing to own the process, sit down and put together a plan, which I'm big on emphasizing plans, and make sure that you execute your plan and you keep it updated and refreshed and you follow through, then you're not likely to be successful with pretty much anything. And if you can't do that with scholarships, you may struggle academically with your coursework too, because you still have to have a plan and you need to be methodical and put forth effort. This is no different. If you think someone's going to wave a magic wand and just poof, scholarships are going to land in your mailbox or your inbox, good luck. If that works for you, let me know, because we need to write a book about that too. But if that's not your reality, and it definitely wasn't mine or my son's, then I want you to consider some other strategies that could really be impactful. Now, I will tell you, let me see if I have it on the next slide. So when I wrote these books, my sons were in high school at the time, and my oldest was going to college just as these books were being written. And so I shared a lot of things that I use to help other families. I have students that have gotten full rides to college, scholar athletes that have both financial scholarship, academic scholarships, and athletic scholarships, all kinds of money. Professionals who are working and going back to school, going to graduate school, law school, whatever the situation, there's funding. So I know these strategies work. But when I wrote the books, my oldest son said, well, Mom, don't just tell us what to do, show us how to do them. So the book is what's published on Amazon, etc. The workbook you can only get exclusively through me and my templates that I make available. The templates is the how to do it that my son was talking about. So if Dr. Christie tells you that you need to have, make sure you get letters of recommendation, then guess what? There's sample letters of recommendation in my templates. If I tell you you need to have a customized funding approach or a plan, I'm going to give you a sample or a template on what that should look like. And if I tell you should be tracking your scholarship, so a couple of these prompts and templates we'll talk about today. But I just wanted you to know there's about 11 in my workbook of templates for this book, for the Black book, for the funding, that I'm going to highlight in our discussion today. But I did want to introduce you to them. And I do have, I'll make sure I drop the link to, I just did something new on my other website, Invest in Others. I put all the downloadable templates there for you to grab. So if you hear me talk about one and you're like, oh, my child could use this one, or I could benefit from that one, then I'll make sure I share the link to how to get access to my templates. Now, I do charge for the hard copy workbooks that I have as well, because it's, costing me money to print it up and make it available. So sometimes when I do in-person events, or if sometimes families will want the hard copy workbook, then I will make that available too for a price. But let me tell y'all, these strategies work. These two young men right here are near and dear to my heart, and I'm passionate about talking about it. My cousin on the left, he graduated from Hampton University. He was in a Navy ROTC program, fully funded scholarship, y'all. Not only did the ROTC pay for his entire education, they gave him a monthly stipend. Did y'all know you can get a 4-year degree while you're doing ROTC in college? Let them pay for it. And when you graduate from college, you will graduate as a commissioned naval officer. So you have a career, a 4-year degree, and no student loan debt, no debt. He walked away owing $0 for his education. He did 4 years in the U.S. Navy. He just got out. He did his time. I think he had to do like 4 years as a part of his agreement, but he's already done with that. He graduated in 2019, so he's on the other side of even that. But he had over $150,000 in scholarship benefits from that opportunity. Now, the young man on the right is my youngest son. He is a scholar athlete. He plays Division I football. He had over $130,000 in scholarship. Both, he had a full athletic scholarship, and his grades were relatively good. He had over a 3.0 leaving high school. So he applied for academic scholarships and got some of those too. Kept those, and he actually periodically got a refund check back because he had a surplus of funds on his account. Once all his bills cleared and all his scholarships hit, he was like, Mom, this strategy really works. You don't say. And it's hard. Your own children are your worst critics when they'll listen to everybody else before they listen to you. But it wasn't until he saw it actually happening for him at college that it really hit home for him. So what I want to talk to you about is how to use those strategies to help you to win scholarships too. So tonight I'm going to talk about 5 ways that you can position yourself to get scholarships or help your child to get scholarships. And I mean in every case, whether you are a continuing student like Roxanne's child in college, Or Monica, I would consider you a continuing student because you're still going on and continuing your education toward a bachelor's. Travis, because you are working to get your GED and go on to get your education. These strategies apply to all of you. Now I'm going to pause real quick and just see if I missed any questions. Monica, are there any suggestions where to apply for law school, but that FAFSA and any other scholarships will cover it even if I go to another state? So there's two different things. One, you can apply to law schools, Monica, in different states. And when you fill out the FAFSA, you still specify those colleges, in state or out of state, on your application. It will send your scores to all those schools for law school. And then they will calculate how much financial aid they're going to give you. Remember, I told you it's each school calculates their own financial aid award package. Now, if you have a shortfall between what they're offering you and what you need, that's when you want to start looking for scholarships. Great. And I think that was the only question. So keep those questions coming or come off mute, make this interactive. So 5 things. I'm going to talk to you about tailoring your application to the scholarship itself. You ever see a job, y'all ever apply for a job, and let's just say they're looking for, I'll just make up something, a teacher, an educator, and your resume has, you did some training, you did some education sort of work before, but you also you were a cashier at Lowe's, and you might have been a greeter at Walmart. And so all that's on your resume. And then you go to apply for that education teaching job, and you think it's a great idea to put all that on, but not feature the education part. And you wonder why they never called you back. Well, it's the same with scholarships. So scholarship providers want to know that you've taken the time to tailor your application to what they're looking for. So if they're looking for future leaders and they ask you to write about leadership, then don't write about your puppy in an unrelated way just because you had a essay already pre-written from somewhere else, but it doesn't apply. So focus on what they're asking you to do. 2, build a scholar profile. I'll talk more about it. It's like a 1-page resume. Also, search for unique and low competition scholarships. This is probably the best tip of the night, and you'll see why later. 4, make a list, keep a list and track all of your scholarships. I did this with my son and it was very successful. And then 5, very important, don't write trash essays. Garbage in is garbage out, y'all. And we'll talk more about that too. So first we're going to start with, how do you tailor your scholarship application? So first, let's talk about the parts of an application. A scholarship application is not too much different from a college application. They want you to fill out the application. Sometimes they'll ask you for your ACT or SAT test scores if you're coming right out of high school. So I would encourage, if you have young people with scores and they're coming right out of high school, or you know of anyone who is coming right out of high school, take the SAT or ACT test anyway. Travis, I do recommend that you take the SAT or ACT test. Even though they might not use it for college admissions in some cases, they'd still use those scores sometimes to give out merit scholarships at the university. They'll ask you for your GPA and your transcript. So Travis, as you're finishing your GED, make sure you understand what equivalent you'll need to share with schools if you don't have a full transcript, but make sure you understand what takes the transcript place as you are applying to colleges and for scholarships. If you've already applied to college, they want to see an acceptance letter sometimes. Christie's not giving you money to go to Hampton University if you can't show that you got into Hampton University, because I'm gonna write my check out to the college, not to the student. So sometimes they want to make sure and they want to verify that you got accepted. You'll sometimes write essays. They'll ask you for letters of recommendation. Stay involved. If you and or your child is not involved in extracurricular activities, a club or organization, community service, those sorts of things, highly encourage everyone to stay involved, even while you are in college. I have a niece that is in college. She is in her sophomore year as well. brilliant minded, had like a 4.1 her freshman year last year. And then she said to me at the end of her freshman year that she was having a hard time getting scholarships. She had been applying, and there were some things that she was missing on her scholar profile, which we'll talk about. And I looked at it and I said, what have you done since you've been in college? What activities? You've gotten a 4.0. That means you went to class and came home. But what about all the other things that you could do to volunteer and participate on and off campus in your local community where you're going to school? You've got to show that you're well-rounded. You cannot just be academically sound. You need to be a well-rounded individual. They may also ask you for your scholar profile, and then I'll talk about that. It's that one-page resume we're going to talk about. It could be a little bit more robust if you've been in college for a little while and or you are a working professional. It could be more than one page, but also your financial documents. So if you're applying for needs-based scholarships, so if you're saying, I don't have a lot of money and I need scholarships, help me out, my income is low, sometimes they'll ask you for your FAFSA report or your SAI index I just described, or other documentation, your tax forms, so for example, to show that you do actually have a financial need. So those are the parts of the application. So as you're planning your scholarship approach, you want to think about what all the parts are that you'll need to be mindful of. So now that you know what goes into the application, I will tell you that you're going to likely apply for different type of scholarships. Don't get rid of any of that content. Save all of it, because you can use it and tweak it later on. You can use it to update your scholar profile. You can use it to help you write write essays. So don't always save or print out and keep copies of every scholarship application you submit, because you never know when that information will come handy. Let's see, someone wanted to take classes at Montgomery Community College. To register for classes with a GPA, I would have to take some, I'm sorry, what's that? A show of entry to see what level I'm at, to see what class I can register for, but at the same time, I still want my GED. Well, do both. Some short of entry. I think I understand what you're saying. They either want you to kind of test in to see where they're going to place you at, so that they can determine what classes that you should register for. But do both. Get your GED and still take the class and see where they may place you at. There's no reason why you have to do one thing or the other. Travis. All right. So as you are planning out your scholarships, which scholarships you're going to look for, and look at the different type of scholarships that you might find, consider the college and the career or major that you're interested in. Just like Travis said, interested in nursing. You might be interested in engineering or interested in education. Here's the beauty. The more you know what you're thinking about studying in school, the more you can target those kind of scholarships. You also want to make sure, as you're applying for a scholarship, let's say I'm an engineer. So let's say the National Society of Black Engineers, NSBE, has a scholarship. What do you think I want to highlight on a NSBE scholarship? All my technical classes, my love for math and science, those things that are relevant to the type of scholarship. You want to give them more color in your scholarship application. You want to highlight those things. Make sure that this may sound self-explanatory, but y'all be surprised. Make sure you complete a complete scholarship application. Don't leave any blanks blank. I just went through this with my son for a job application. Again, this is going in my young adulting book. Don't leave things blank. Put not applicable. But the worst thing you can do is skip over things and forget to address all the pertinent parts of the scholarship. Because as a person who's judged scholarships, what do you think Dr. Christie's going to do if I see an incomplete scholarship? Let me know in the chat what you think I should do if you submit a scholarship that is incomplete. Any guesses? Yes. Miss Roxanne nailed it. Move on to the next person. They're gonna be disqualified. Y'all are out, denied. You right. I'm not gonna waste my time. I'm gonna use my time with people who can follow directions, who can be thorough, look back over their work, and make sure everything is submitted completely. Also, read the instructions, y'all. If they say they need 2 letters of recommendation, don't just submit one. If they say you need 500-word essay, don't give them 501 words and say, it's just an extra word. You reword and revise your writing concisely to make sure it's within the word count. Those things make a difference between candidates that get selected for a scholarship and those that don't. That not following instructions, not completing a complete package, and essays that are just really awfully written. Neatness is phenomenal. Penmanship is even better, particularly if you're going to submit a handwritten application. Nowadays, a lot of applications are online. So students can hide their handwriting nowadays better because many times they're submitting them online. But penmanship, neatness, professionalism, all those things matter. And that's my next point. Be professional. What does that look like? Check your grammar, check your spelling. Don't use slang. This is not texting. And this is going in my young adult book too. How you text is not how you write an application. How you text is not how you talk. So just know that those different forms of communication is not a one size fit all, and they don't work in every environment. You must tailor how you communicate to the environment, and that includes with your scholarship application as well.
May I say something, please?
You sure may.
I'll be brief. So my daughter is a sophomore now. She did very well with scholarships for her freshman year. But I remember we were doing a local NAACP application, scholarship application. And when she focuses, she starts writing she was handwriting it, and the penmanship started getting smaller and smaller, and it just didn't look neat. And I told her, just do it. There was a way to do it so she could print it, and she didn't want to do that. And I thought she was a shoo-in, and she submitted and she did not get it. But when we did, so that was the local NAACP. But when we did the national NAACP, which was a lot more competitive than the local one, she got it. She got the national one because she crossed her T's, she dotted her I's, and she was neat in her presentation. Yeah. So I just want to drive that home to anybody listening. I think it matters because Montgomery County NAACP, there weren't that many. It was a smaller pool. She didn't get it because she wanted to cut corners.
Yep. I so appreciate you sharing that, because for me to say it versus your daughter to have experienced it, it really hits home the value. And I'm going to talk about those local, less competitive ones. They're less competitive in one sense because of the number of people who aren't applying for it. But you got to be on point. You got to be on point, because when they look at those 5 applications they do get, they're looking to see who really put the time and effort into it. And they can tell by the quality of the application you submit. So thank you so much, Ms. Roxanne, for sharing that, because I can't emphasize that enough to young adults in that way. They think that everything is, not all of them, but some, that if they can cut corners, you can cut corners, but you're going to get cut from the scholarship selection too. And they don't go together. All right. And so next up, I'm going to talk to you about how to build a scholar profile. And I know you've heard me talk about that a few times. Let me tell you what it is. This has helped so many young people that I have worked with for so many different reasons. I could do a whole probably workshop just on this, but I'm going to abbreviate. Every young person should have one. And it's a great segue into a resume later on if you're going out into the workforce. But it's a 1-page summary that tells the story of who you are. And I tell young people how you show up matters in 3 ways: online, on paper, and in person. This is the on paper, the whole scholarship application is your on paper way of showing up. When you're not physically in the room, this is going to tell the story of who you are, your whole application. So what I did this actually for my niece years ago for the first time, but I had her create a one-page scholar profile. Some people call it a resume, a brag sheet, self-reflection, self-assessment, whatever you want to call it. But it was one page and it really highlighted information about her that most people wouldn't know in one concise place. On it, it has different sections. I helped her create a template. It's in my workbook of templates we talked about too. You can include a professional picture, but it had her name, address, all her basic contact information, including the email address that y'all actually gonna check every day. And make sure the email address is clean and not anything inappropriate too, as it's describing who you are professionally. And then share an objective. Sometimes I have young people who don't do this, but this is how people know how to help you quickly. If your daughter, Miss Roxanne, is majoring in, let's just say, education, and she'll say, I want to complete my bachelor's, 4-year bachelor's degree and obtain a educational or teaching job in Prince George's County. I'm just being broad and specific at the same time. Guess what? I now know, oh, I know of scholarships for those who are interested in education. Oh, I see from her scholar profile that she's a sophomore. Oh, I see she wants to go to a 4-year school. I can conceptualize what she needs and how my scholarship can help. Educational history. I want to know if you're currently in college, what's your GPA, what are you majoring when you're anticipating graduating. I want to know if you're working on your GED and you're anticipating entering college in the fall, or you have an associate's degree and you're moving on to your bachelor's degree. Include it in that section. Also, honors and accomplishments. What have you done? Have you made the honor roll, the principals list? Did you get inducted into the National Honor Society? Were you the recipient of an award somewhere else? Any awards and accomplishments you need to be highlighting. This is the time to brag on yourself. This is not the time to be humble. I appreciate your humility, but this is about making sure people know who you are and what great things you've accomplished. If you've worked, share your employment experience in a concise but clear way. Make sure you've been involved. Remember I said get involved with extracurricular activities and community service? List those. And relevant courses. So depending on what you're majoring in, you want to list courses that aligns with your objective. So number 3 and number 9 needs to connect. If I want to be an engineer, I'm going to highlight STEM classes. I took physics. I took chemistry. I took calculus 1, 2, and 3. I took a drawing class. Those things STEM people love to see. Whether you're in the arts, do something similar or whatever that looks like for you. And then also include your interest in hobbies on your scholar profile. At first, when I did it with my niece, she was like, well, nobody cares that I like to play the piano. Can anybody tell me why they think sharing your interest in hobbies on the scholar profile might be beneficial? No? Well, guess what? This is going to be another source of how people can help you. What if somebody's looking at your hobbies and realize, oh my goodness, you like crafting. Oh my goodness, you know how to play the guitar. And you can look for scholarships around those same hobbies and interests. Yes, you can get scholarships for hobbies and interests. But once you put them on paper, you don't have to keep thinking about all these things that I just listed out, these different sections. You can just keep referring back to them. Now, here's the beauty and the value of how young adults have used the scholar profile. My niece used it and attached it to her college applications. It was something different. Not everybody was doing it. Not everybody knew to do it. Got into every school she applied for. But only include these things if the school says you can attach additional information. If they say don't give us anything more than what we asked for, why? Because you read and followed their directions, then don't include it. But if they say, please attach anything additional here you'd like for consideration, include it every time with a college application, a scholarship application. Also, what if you're getting someone to write a letter of recommendation for you and they know you kind of well? I'm going to Miss Roxanne and I'm like, hey, I need a letter of recommendation. And she was like, I remember you from church in my ministry group, but I don't know you like that. Oh, guess what? Miss Roxanne, here's my scholar profile. And she'll be able to say, oh, Christie's doing a lot of great things. Let me highlight a few of those in my writing. What about when you're writing your own essays? You ever sit down to write and you on information overload? You're like, I do not remember what I did 2 years ago. Guess what? If you have a scholar profile and you update it at least twice a year, you don't have to remember it. It'll be on paper for you. And then lastly, it's a great transitional document into a employment resume. This is how it looks when it's completed. When I tell you, I don't want you to spend your time trying to figure out how to format it, how to line up the different rows and, that sort of thing. I want you to spend your time putting in the content and telling a story of who you are. So as you can see, John Doe's information, the objective, all those same sections I talked about are here. What happens if you fill out your scholar profile or your child fills theirs out and there's nothing for extracurricular activities? What do you want to start doing? Getting involved, closing the gap. So this is also a great way to see yourself and what you've accomplished and where you may still want to redirect your efforts. Like, you know what? I really need to spend a little time on community service. I ain't help nobody in the community. Everybody needs community service. And I haven't gotten to it, but scholarship providers want to see that not just do you need money, but they want to know, what are you doing to make a difference in the world? Community service helps you to be about something bigger than you. And everybody needs to be able to speak to how you're helping other people. And so the template is available, and I'll share more about it. Now, download the template, use it to look at what areas you still need to improve. Update it twice a year. My son, I would have them updated every Christmas break when they came home, because I ain't want no excuses. Mom, I got all this schoolwork. I don't have time. On a spring break when they came home, and or summer break. You're not competing with 500 things. You just finished the semester. It's still fresh in your mind. Get it out of your head while it's still fresh in your mind. And only include it again if the entity, whether it's a college or a scholarship entity, they say you can provide additional documents. So that scholar profile, y'all, I can't emphasize the value it has. I have so many young people who have downloaded that template, used it, and had success stories. It's unbelievable. And all because it just clicked. You need a summary of who you are. Tell your story. Nobody can tell your story like you can. And if you don't think you have a story to tell, we'll come back to that. Now, number 3, search for unique and low competition scholarships. Scholarship searches matter, y'all. You know how many individuals, I would say young adults, but young adults and adults who come up to me and say, can you find me scholarships? I work with hundreds of students every year. I don't have the time, ain't enough hours in the day for me to sit down and help 500 different people find scholarships for their 500 different situations. But good news, every last one of y'all can spend 15, 20 minutes a week searching for your own. See how that works? So what I want to do is help you to fish, not help you to eat for a day, because that's where you're going to get the most value. So what I want to do is share some strategies on how your search matters. Don't turn your head away when the small scholarship award amounts. Oh, Dr. Christie, they was only offering me $500. It adds up. It adds up. So don't turn away the small scholarship awards. What happens is a lot of people don't apply for them because of the small dollar amount. So the people who do apply have a higher probability of getting awarded them if they follow all the other instructions, professional package, the whole 9-yard things we've already talked about. But I love small scholarships. I love large scholarships. Look for all different types of money scholarships. Renewable. There are scholarships that you can renew each year. My son had a Target scholarship, and every year he was in school, if he turned in his grades, etc., it was automatically renewable for the next year. He didn't have to compete for it. So look for all different types of scholarships. Also look for scholarships that few people even know exist. Y'all, okay, I'll give y'all a little bit of background. I'm an AKA. I'm actually the president of my chapter this year. But every year, and I'm not just talking about my chapter, but we're nonprofit organizations. I have friends across other nonprofit organizations, Greek fraternities, you name it. We all have the same problem. We never can find enough scholarship applicants for our scholarships. You mean, Dr. Christie, y'all have scholarships and most people aren't even applying for? On a good year, we might get 15 to 20 applications. And we're giving out scholarships in 4 or 5 different categories. Go for the local scholarships, churches, civic groups, social groups, fraternities, sororities, other nonprofits in your community. They have money and most people don't even know about it. So when you talk to people at your church, at your job, and you say, oh, you know anybody with a nonprofit? Or let's say professional organizations. Miss Roxanne, don't tell me all your business, but what kind of career field are you in?
I coach people with ADHD.
Okay, you coach people with ADHD. I'm going to classify you in an educational kind of environment. I'm also going to classify you in kind of a not maybe what's the word I'm looking for? A career field where you're learning disabilities or opportunities to help. Guess what? All of those entities, educators have a national association, National Education Association. There's associations for individuals who either educate individuals for ADHD and or who have ADHD. All of those professional associations have a philanthropic arm, foundation, or they're giving away money. Why? Because they want to attract more people to their profession. Travis, if you want to go to school for nursing, have you ever thought about looking up the National Association of Nurses? They all have money. Most people don't know to apply. I was an electrical engineer for years, a Black female electrical engineer in the oil and gas energy industry. I was a part of this association called African American Blacks in Energy. Do you know we couldn't get enough students with STEM backgrounds or interested in energy? And so we had some pretty decent money and not that many applicants. So those associations are looking to draw in people in their career fields. Go after those. Most people don't even know they exist. Go after the ones where few people apply. We've already talked about that. Kind of the similar. If they don't exist, if they don't know it exists, they obviously don't know to apply. So if few people apply for scholarships and you complete a full package and you're eligible, your chances are so wonderful of getting awarded that scholarship. I'm not going to say don't chase after the Bill and Melinda Gates or the big Coca-Cola. The national scholarships are great. They are still valuable to use time on those applications. Just know that their competition pool of candidates is going to be in the thousands, not the hundreds or the teens. I ran into a young lady. Her name is Maya Mundale. You can actually look her up on social media. She won over $1 million in scholarships. And I had coffee with her one day. I said, how did you do that, Maya? And she said she was applying for one of those bigger scholarships. She went to their website and they listed the students that had just given them money to the previous year. And as she was thinking about applying, she said she Instagram stalked them a little bit and DM'd them when she found them and said, hey, my name is Maya and I'm interested in applying for the same scholarship. And I was wondering if you could mentor me and share some insights with me on what you did to get the scholarship, because you broke through hundreds of thousands applicants. I want to talk to you. What made your application stand out? And I'll share some of those tips as I talk here in just a minute. But very, very impactful way in which she approached it. So if you're going to go after the larger ones, don't go blindly after them. Talk to somebody with some success in those areas. Go after scholarships that people are not eligible for. How many Black female electrical engineers in the oil and gas industry do y'all know right off the top of your head? Not that many. So if I was looking for a scholarship, I'm going to look for minority female engineering scholarships in the energy industry. Guess what? That is a smaller pool of people I have to compete with. Even if they found it and knew about it and actually applied, it's a smaller pool of people. Go after scholarships that few people don't want to write essays, and they don't want to have to take the time to get letters of recommendation. Write the essay, get the letter of recommendation, because it goes to your level of effort. Let the lazy people use the student loan debt, because that's what they're going to end up getting, because they're not willing to do what it takes to get the scholarships. But if you're willing to put forth effort, write the essay, get the letters of recommendation. Now, I'll tell you, relationships matter. So, and I tell young people this all the time. If you're in school, college, working a job, or high school, and you don't have good relationship with adults, or when they see you coming, they think you're a nightmare, you might want to work on yourself, because those are the very individuals who likely you would have to circle back around to and say, hey, Miss Roxanne, I know I gave you hell in your English 10 class, but can you overlook all that and write a letter of recommendation for me? You have to create a positive experience for other people so that they can create a positive letter of recommendation for you. You don't know how many times I've had students say, oh, I can't ask none of my teachers. Well, then you need to do some self-work. If everybody is being traumatized by you, get yourself together. And so I'm gonna talk to y'all like I talk to my own young adults, but get yourself together so that people can be able to say positive things. And lastly, when you're thinking about unique and low competition scholarships, know that nobody else is you. I can tell you things about me that if I were applying for a scholarship, you say, you know what? I don't know nobody else, once you lay it out like that, would have the exact same things going on like you do. And I guarantee you it's the case with every last one of you who are on the webinar tonight. Everybody has their own unique story. So what you should do when you're writing, when you're filling out your scholarships and you're looking for scholarships, you don't want to think, what is everybody else doing? You want to think, what can everybody else get money for? Because their situation ain't like mine. Use it to your advantage. These things really do make a difference. Now, we're going to do a little exercise here. I'm going to read this prompt, and then y'all are going to tell me, y'all are going to highlight what scholarships y'all think Miss Gloria here can apply for. All right, so Gloria is a Japanese American high school senior with a 3.92 GPA who lives in Virginia. Gloria wants to attend college and major in chemistry. She can also play the piano well. She's very smart, but has concerns that her ADHD might hinder her from learning at the same pace as others in college. Gloria is also concerned that she can't afford college because her father died during COVID and her mother's income is low. She reached out to me because no one in her family went to college and they do not understand the college funding process. Now, type in the chat or come off of mute, either one, and let me know what kind of scholarships do you think Gloria can apply for? Come on with it. Fast.
Oh, wait, I'm so sorry. I was distracted. Are we writing or are we talking?
You can do either one.
Okay.
Travis, the FAFSA is not a scholarship. It's a application to determine what type of financial aid you're eligible for, but she can still get scholarships from the FAFSA. I'll accept that. But just from looking at her example, you got to look at the paragraph.
I got one.
Okay, go ahead.
First person to go to college.
First generation college.
First generation college.
Immigrant, yes, Stephanie.
Immigrant, specifically Japanese or descent, immigrant.
Yes,
and this one is definitely what I did with my daughter, because my daughter has ADHD.
Okay, excellent.
She has a 3.92 GPA.
So what is that?
And she has ADHD. A bulk of my daughter's scholarships tied the GPA to the ADHD and said, even with the learning disability, she was able to obtain a 3.92 GPA. That's not easy so she could get scholarships specifically for people with ADHD, and she could combine the GPA and the fact that she has ADHD as a selling point for any type of scholarship, not specifically for people with ADHD, just to show that how much she could accomplish with that challenge.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I took so many golden nuggets from that. One, if I was a scholarship provider and you had said the same thing you just said, daughter had a 3.92 and ADHD, she's bubbling up to the top because she overcome some unique challenges and still was able to be successful. It gives me goosebumps because those are the kind of people you want to help. And then if you just take her ADHD, so her GPA by its own merit, you can get merit scholarships. But if you add to that, I'm going to go on to the next slide because y'all are hitting a lot of the things that the answers. Now, this isn't even all the things that Gloria could do, but y'all hit on a lot of them. She's a female. There's scholarships just because you're a woman. She's a Japanese American, an immigrant, and or a minority, a high school senior. There's so many scholarship entities that say, oh, no, we only want to give our money to high school seniors. Narrow down the pool. 3.92 GPA, merit-based academic scholarships. Okay, excellent. She lived in the state of Virginia. There are state and local scholarships. I run into it all the time. Like in my chapter, AKA chapter, we only give scholarships to students who live in Stafford and Fauquier County, Virginia. 2 counties in Virginia. Do you know how that narrows down your pool? So you have to go after those local scholarships in your state, in your county, and your local area.
Can I say something again? I get passionate about this.
No, definitely do.
My daughter's college with $72,000, and when I wrote the check for freshman year, I paid $72.50.
That's a great story, right?
Oh, wow.
Anybody who's here, I got to give it to Chiquita Waller, who invited my daughter and I while she was still a senior, to a meeting similar to this, but not exactly. It's something else. And that's where we found out about the delegate scholarships. And it wasn't too late. And so anybody here who's looking to go to college, find out who your delegates are. And also there's a senatorial scholarship. So that's bigger pool, but your local delegates is small. It goes by your zip code. And my daughter, we're coming to the finish line now. And we found out about these 3. We applied to all 3, 3 delegates. We applied to all 3. She got all 3. So
you know why? 2 reasons. Your daughter I'm sure she is phenomenal. And 2, nobody else, and I'm not saying she got it because nobody else knew about it, but you just dropped another gem on how those state and local delegates have funding that most families don't know about. And these kind of programs like the one Ms. Waller is putting on is exposing you all to opportunities that you ordinarily would not have known about. And so that's the beauty of talking, engaging, and connecting in these ways. So
yes, and this year she went back to those 3 delegates. And one of them said, I'm sorry, we've already given away all of our scholarship money. So she kind of just put that to the side. And that requires an essay. And she didn't apply because they said they were done. Well, just before school started, they contacted her and said, we gave you money last year. We have extra money because we thought we gave away all our money, but we didn't. Here's the money. She didn't even end up having to write the essay this year. And this is all for everybody here. This is all from going to one of these meetings with Chiquita Waller last year. That was an extra $3,200 she had for the first year. Oh, wow. And she got more this year. So
that's very encouraging.
So do it.
That's awesome.
And I'll tell you what, I like what she did. She circled back around and asked anyway. And when she asked, they remembered her. And I tell young people all the time, closed mouths don't get fed. People will remember you and they will be more than happy to help you as they can. So thank you for sharing that. Very, very helpful. Also, you notice she was interested in chemistry. So there's a whole bunch of STEM money that'll open up from there. Or the more specific you are to think about what you want to study, the more you have access to funding. Also, she played the piano. I think it was Monica in the chat Stephanie, who just highlighted that in the chat. Thank you. The piano, that was one on my list. Remember I said include your interest and hobbies on your scholar profile? She can apply for scholarships in any of those areas too. the ADHD, which Miss Roxanne already talked about. You can combine that and you can apply and look for scholarships individually for that as well. COVID impact. A few years ago, it was really, really rampant. I don't know how many scholarships are still giving out scholarships for families impacted by COVID, but there was a period of time when that was really, really significant. And they were really looking for families who were struggling with that and had lost loved ones. And then, even still, there are scholarships for students who might have had a deceased parent or guardian. Mother was low income. Now you're basing it on financial need. So if her mother's income is low, as Travis said, when she fills out that FAFSA, that may create scholarship opportunities for her because her mother's income was low. And the university may have other scholarships, and private scholarship entities also have financial need scholarships. And then someone already mentioned she's a first generation, first one in her family to go to college. So as you can see, this was how about I tell y'all, this was actually based on a real conversation. When I wrote my books, I have my Google phone number in my books because I want young people to call me if they have a question. And one day I'm sitting at home and I get a call from this young lady. I changed her name to protect the innocent, but she was so shocked. Oh my God, I can't believe you answered the phone. I'm like, yeah, why wouldn't I? And she went on to say, well, I need help. I don't have any money. I'm trying to go to college. This was her story. I changed a few things so that it wouldn't be obvious, but this was her story. And so I just listened to her ramble on, well, I couldn't do this, and my dad did that, and my mama doesn't have this, and they can't help because and I just listened to her tell me all these different factors. And then she said, but I just have no idea what to apply for. And I was like, really? You don't? Well, I've counted about 13 to 15 things just from you talking for 5 minutes. So that's why I say focus on, let me go back to that slide where it said, focus on what makes you different. So while she saw her situation as a negative thing or something that was holding her back, I challenged her to use it to push her forward. And she started applying for scholarships.
Oh, can I say something again? Thank you so much. You are just dropping so much to everybody. It is so valuable. I hope everyone's taking notes because this is golden, okay? And I just wanted to give an example about my daughter. Now, she's going to a private school in Baltimore. She's an art student. She's going to Maryland Institute College of Art in Baltimore. And our income is low. I raised her by myself. I did not co-parent. There's no other parent on her birth certificate. That it's just me. And they offered her package and she wrote back to the school to ask for more money. This is while she was still a senior in high school. So just remember this one too, that if you're accepted to a school, you can ask them. Am I jumping ahead? Because were you going to get there?
No, share this because this is good.
But we've lived it. I want you to know. So I did a little research and it said, if you're going to go back and ask, be reasonable. Don't ask for like, $15,000, stuff like that. If you need 15,000, just be reasonable. So I told her, her gap was 13,000 after all her offers and stuff. And I told her, ask for $1,000. I mean, just ask for 1,000. She said, Mom, I feel like I should ask for 5,000. I said, okay, ask for 5,000. The school got back to her and gave her 4,000 for the year, renewable every year. So they gave her 16,000 more dollars over the course of the 4 years. And, so many people go to college, including myself. I went to college not knowing you could ask for more. You could go back and kind of counter and stuff. And we sent letters because she got into like another kind of prestigious school in New York. And then we sent the letter with how much that school offered her, kind of saying like, okay, if you don't help her, they will, type of thing. And they gave her 16 grand over 4 years or another $4,000 a year. So that's another thing you can do, particularly if you're going to a private school, I think, or a school that's well endowed, so I just wanted to say that as well.
No, that's very, I think that's important to share because a lot of times we don't think that we can circle back around and ask for more. Same with your financial aid at a college. You can circle back around and ask to appeal it or ask for reconsideration. And then another gem I did with my niece, the one who I did the scholar profile with for the first time. Go to the school or the department that you're interested in majoring. She was interested in engineering. So I walked with her to the engineering school, and we just happened to run into the dean in the office that day. And I said, my niece is going to be a freshman in the fall, and she's got a shortfall with her money, etc. And he said, I have a scholarship that I can choose a student for myself. Financial aid office didn't know anything about the scholarship because it was in his school of engineering. He said, and I can't make this stuff up, he said, send me your resume. Guess what she had, y'all?
The profile.
She had her on her phone in her email. I said, if you don't send that, go ahead and forward that scholar profile to him right now. Quick, fast, and in a hurry. And she did. She sent that in, ended up getting that scholarship. So all these different pieces about asking, circling back around, closed mouths don't get fed, tell people what you're trying to do so they can figure out how to help you, and tell them, to Miss Roxanne's point, tell them how much help you need. Those things absolutely will make the difference.
Can I tell one more story? I mean,
Sure.
I could tell you're passionate. I'm passionate. I hope we're all passionate about this. This year, I, as a week after she came home from her first year of college, I ended up in the hospital. I went into the hospital and they kept me for 10 days. And then I'm still in treatment even now from May. And she didn't get a job, the job she thought she was going to get. After 12th grade, she worked, you know. And that's another thing, when your kids work, they get to see something, because she worked all summer for like a little over $2,000, and then she gets a scholarship for $2,000. And I'm like, you see, you write one essay, you got $2,000. You work all summer for $2,000. But anyway, she wrote to her school because she had a bigger shortfall sophomore year, and she said, my mother was sick. My grandfather, this is all true, came from Jamaica, and he's sick and he had to get surgery. My mom's trying to take care of him, but then she's sick, then I had to take care of everybody, and so on. Do you know, like 2 or 3 days before school, they ended up granting her like thousands of dollars just like that for hardship.
Wow. Yes.
Hardship. We
Yes.
didn't expect it. We didn't expect it. Yeah. So that's, circle back, and what's unique about you? What was unique about her this year was her mother, it was hospitalized and is still in treatment now. And she ended up as a 19-year-old being the caretaker in the household for the summer. That was what was unique about her this year. And her school recognized that. And she was worried. She was crunching numbers every day all summer, driving herself nuts. You know what I'm saying? And the school was like, hardship, here you go.
Wow, that is phenomenal. I'm typing real fast. Sorry if y'all can hear me typing, because sometimes people like, we can hear you. But there's an internship. So this is all about scholarships, but for those who are currently in college, whether you're working on an associate's degree, 4-year degree, both, I'm going to give you this internship program for diverse students. Have your daughter, and also I know there's another young lady on here who is currently working on the associate's degree. Look up this scholarship, this internship. It's from the U.S. Department of Transportation. My sister actually works there, and she has helped countless young people get internships. But they have an internship that starts every June for like 6 to 8 weeks. They give them a stipend, put them up. If they're so many miles away from the office in DC, they'll put them in an apartment for the summer, and they pay them to get experience for the summer. So look for internships, very similar to how you're going to look for a job and scholarships. But it was on my spirit to say that, since you were talking about your daughter transitioning and needing a job when she came home, etc. So internships are great too. So definitely, I'm dropping that in the chat while I'm thinking about it, just listening to you. But as you can tell, there's all different types of scholarships. I mean, I don't even really need to go into this list anymore because we've really hit on all of these types and more. But just know that you're not hell bent to just one type of scholarship. And even Travis, with you wanting to go to school for nursing and you're working on your GED, do not let that discourage you. There are scholarships for individuals who have a GED. Did you know that? If you didn't, I hope you do now. And so one of the big questions I generally get from families and usually young adults, Miss Christie, I don't know where to look for scholarships. Google it. Scholarships are everywhere. We've talked about so many different types. I would do you a disservice if I only pointed you to one scholarship. There are so many different types. Now, here's what I want you to do. Start combining some of those keywords. Like if you go back to Gloria's situation, you see female minority. What happened if you start combining female minority high school student together and you start Google searching that? Or minority female interested in chemistry, or minority female with ADHD. You see how you can combine those in your search? And I'm skipping back. As you're searching, put those keywords in quotes. Put them in quotes. Even put, chemistry in quotes, or Virginia in quotes, or female in quotes. And then if you start combining things like minority chemistry scholarships for minority females, you can even put the year in quotes, 2024. So that way all the old 2023 scholarships, might not show up because you don't want to really waste your time on those. But combine keywords, find out what's unique, then combine those keywords in Google, and then do searches, and they'll start popping up things that ordinarily would not have found. But you have to think about what makes you unique, those ones that most people aren't applying for. So that is a lot of some great strategies and some great insights on how successful students have been with doing just those things. And next, once you start finding scholarships, now you've got a great search method. You know how to combine your keywords. Oh, I found about 12 scholarships I can apply for. What are you going to do with them when you find them? You want to make sure you have a list. You want to track them. When my sons were when I first wrote my books and they were in high school, I sat them down one day and I said, y'all going to love me, you're going to hate me, and then you'll love me again. And they were like, what is this crazy woman talking about? And I said, you're going to love me because I'm not asking you to do anything yet. You're going to hate me when I ask you to do something like sit down, spend 20 minutes, find you about 10 scholarships that you uniquely qualify for, and fill in this little brief spreadsheet. I always gave my sons punishments that actually advanced their efforts and helped them. They didn't really want to do it, and that was the part that made it punishment. But I always did things that were going to advance them. And so I did this for my youngest one day. And I said, I need you to sit down and come up with 10 scholarships using my method. And you need to fill in what the scholarship is, copy and paste the link. Because the one thing you don't want to do is find a scholarship and then you can't remember how to get back to it. So you want to be able to just click and it'll take you right back to it. What does it take to be eligible for it? You need to have a 3.0 GPA, be a female, be a male, have ADHD, whatever that is. Put the criteria in that box. How much are they giving out? If it's $5,000 or if it's $5,000 renewable, when is the deadline to apply? Do you need to write an essay? Do you need letters of recommendation? If so, how many? Test scores. And then the date you actually submit your application, track that too. My son would say, oh, I don't remember how many I did. I don't remember which ones I applied for. Well, now you need to know what you applied for, when you applied, so we can follow up if we need to. And then if they selected you or the selection decision, yes, no, they gave you money. If they gave you money, how much did they give you? Because that's our only way of knowing how much more money you still need. And seeing it all in one place saves so much time and effort. So fast forward. So I did this with my son one day. He had gotten on my nerves. I gotten in trouble. He did it, saved it electronically, sent it to me when he was done. I treat it like a business When you're done with this, email it back to me and I'll look it over. And he's like, okay, she's doing the most again. But guess what? When his senior year hit and it was time to apply for schools, he played football, basketball, ran track, etc. in high school. He didn't have a lot of time. So these templates help with folks who don't have a lot of time or don't want to use their time this way. I sat down with him, and what we did is we sorted this list by the deadline. Here's a gem. If you're applying to scholarships and the deadline is the first 3 are in October, then November, then December, guess what you only have to focus on in September? The ones at the top that have an October deadline. When October hits, you go to the next set. Which ones do you want to focus on? The ones that have in October that have a November deadline. So we didn't have to get overwhelmed thinking, oh my God, I got 30 applications. I got to do them all tonight. No, you just need to do the 4 or 5 that's coming up this month that you're really a good fit for. And then the next month and so forth. So senior year, when he had his athletic scholarships, academic scholarships, and several of the ones that came off of his spreadsheet that I made him create, he said, Mom, I got to tell you, I didn't see the value of what you had me do, but I get it now. That's the love, hate, love. You love me when I didn't ask you to do anything, hated me when I assigned you this task. And now on the back end, when you're seeing the fruits of your labor, that's when it's like, aha, I finally get it. And so it's going to be the same. You're going to have to roll up your sleeves a little bit, but I guarantee you, this method is a lot more manageable and less overwhelming than just winging it. You're not going to be mentally organized, physically organized, and it will slow you down. You'll get frustrated, and you probably won't apply for as many scholarships as you would in this case. Any questions about this template? Is one of my templates in my book and on my website, so you don't have to create it from scratch. You can use it. You can create your own, very similar, whatever method works for you. All right, and the final section is don't write trash essays. One of the things I learned during COVID is that essays was a big differentiator in how people gave out their money. Because there weren't a lot of individuals taking tests at the time, and so they had to find a way to really figure out who they were going to award scholarships to. So they started looking closer at essays. And I find that a lot of students really don't want to write essays. And there's 2 different types of essays. So don't think about just the college admissions essay, but you'll need an essay that answers a question for scholarships. Why should I give you my scholarship money? Why are you the best candidate for my scholarship funds? That's the one we really want to focus on in tonight's conversation. Just like with everything else you'll see that I will advise, Dr. Christie says, have an essay plan, a writing plan. Don't just sit down with a blank sheet of paper and you really have no idea where to start. Now, one tool that I've already introduced you should have as you're writing your essay. What is that tool? What is that template? Scholar profile. The scholar profile. It's going to tell you everything you've done when you were in the Boy Scouts, when you were in the band, when you were the captain of the football team, when you worked at the senior living facility, volunteering. It's going to show you all those things. So when you sit down and someone says, tell us about a time when you exhibited leadership skills, and you go down and you look and you say, oh yeah, I remember when I was a captain of the football team. Tell us about a challenge you had and how you overcame it or how you navigated through it as a leader. You can now use those things. You can tell us the time frame when I was a sophomore in school. Why? Because you remember from your scholar profile, you were a sophomore. But having a plan, using your scholar profile will help. Your plan should include you having your scholar profile available, having your plan. How do you want to methodically tackle your essay? Plan to do some research as your essay, writing your essay. When you're writing an essay and you have an entity that wants to give you money, know something about the entity. What's their mission? What's their vision? Why are they giving out the scholarship? What matters to them? How many people work for the company? Why are they, looking at diversity, equity, and inclusion? Why are they focusing on leadership? You want to find some way for you to be able to say, here's how I connect back to what you're doing. Not only does it show alignment to what they're doing, but it shows that you took the time to research and find out more about them. Then you want to start brainstorming. You want to organize your thoughts, come up with ideas, and then you want to organize them. And then you want to sit down and write your essay. And lastly, never, ever, ever, ever submit an essay that has not been fully proofread and revised. Ever. Now, I have a bachelor's degree, 2 master's degrees, and a doctorate degree. I would like to believe that I can marginally write well. I can write pretty well now. However, I'm not, and I'm a multiple published author. And yet, I am not arrogant enough to think that my writing is error-free. Everybody makes mistakes. Sometimes it could just be a matter of you too close to the work and you don't see it the same way other people do. Sometimes it's like, you know what? I meant H-E-R-E and I put H-E-A-R. So you really do need to step away from your work, get people you trust to look at it, and then you come back and you make a couple of iterations and clean it up. So I can't stand it when I meet a high school seniors. So I had an A in English all 4 years of high school. I don't need nobody to proofread my essay. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. And so I highly encourage that. So I'm going to share some do's and don'ts when it comes to essay writing, because this is from my perspective as a scholarship judge and evaluator. We can tell when you wait till the last minute to write your essay because it's thrown together, no thought put into it. Ideas don't really flow from one paragraph to the other. It's not well laid out and organized, and it doesn't flow. Do not wait till the last minute. We can tell when you have not tailored your scholarship application or haven't done any research. Once I read an application and it had another scholarship entity's name in the essay because they just copied and pasted it from the other one, but forgot to change who the scholarship provider was. You didn't tailor it to the entity that you were applying to. We can tell when your essay doesn't grab the judge's attention up front. Say something memorable. I could see Roxanne's daughter saying, everything was going great until my mom, until I had to become the caregiver of my mother in the hospital. Or I was planning to work this great internship until I found myself as a caregiver for my mother that summer. Now you've gotten my attention. Something happened in your life and you had to pivot in one sentence. Now it makes me want to know more about you. Your attention getter should make me want to know more about you. Well, I wonder what happened to Roxanne's daughter and how she helped her mom that summer. And what did that mean to her? That's what you want to do. You want to share something unique, not too personal. You don't want to get into your mom's medical condition, but you just want to say, I had to help my mom because of medical, she was in the hospital, generally speaking. And so that is the kind of thing that people want to know, that you're human, that you're vulnerable, that life happens, and that you're learning new things about yourself. Answer the prompt, answer the instructions. If they say write about leadership, write about leadership. If they say tell me about a time where you experienced something traumatic or you had to overcome a challenge, focus on that, but stay on prompt. Judges can tell we don't really generally like it when you start an essay with restating the prompt. Well, this is an opportunity for me to tell you about how I overcame a challenge. We already know that. You've wasted the first sentence. And now I'm interested in moving on to the next essay. So use your writing to your advantage and wisely. Never start with my name is Christie, and I'm here to tell you to answer this essay prompt. Wrong answer. Or it all started with one rainy day in October. Not necessary. Or a quote that belongs to somebody else. As Thomas Jefferson would say, ... No, you might incorporate that somewhere in your essay if it's relevant to that topic, but don't start that way. Don't start, do start with a great compelling hook. You definitely want to tell your story. You want to bring in the audience and want them to lean in and know more about you quickly, concisely. Tell them about an experience you've had and how it made you feel. Those are things that you can't get from a scholarship application. You can't get necessarily from somebody else writing your letter of recommendation. Nobody else can tell somebody how you feel better than you can. Your essay is a unique opportunity to do that. So what are some of the do's? Keep it simple, follow the theme, and tie it to a broader story. Make them feel like they know you. Very key. Give them something to say, either I know her or I want to know more. By the end of their reading, by the time they're done reading your essay, they should be able to meet you in person. It's like, you know what, girl, I done been in that situation before. And I love how you channeled your frustration to something positive. It gives them something to want to extend and share more about if they were ever to meet you in person. Make sure you talk about you. Your essay is another great opportunity to brag about yourself and tell your unique story. Talk about something, a challenge you faced and how you overcame it. I will tell you this, if you talk about a challenge and how you overcame it, this is what I don't want you to do. Don't focus too long on the challenge. Hit the highlights. Oh, this awful thing happened. Here's what I learned about myself. Here's how I used it for some good. Here's how I overcame it. Here's how I used it to help somebody else. Focus on all the positive. So maybe I would say like a 20-80 rule, 20% what happened and 80% what you did about it and what you learned about yourself. How to accomplish your goals. Talk about those things. What inspired you about the situation or somebody else and how they showed up. Again, what'd you learn about yourself? Maybe you had a shift in mindset. Maybe you was dead set on something being one way and then you transformed or you pivoted and now you realize it wholesale differently now. And how you plan to make a difference. This is a gem, another gem from the young lady I told you had $1 million in scholarships and she found a scholarship mentor. She said, always, always, always incorporate in your essays what you're doing to make a difference. It has to be about you, but it also has to be bigger than just you. About you and bigger than just you, all in the same essay. Every essay, the same essay. Have a community service or passion. Make sure that you can share how you extend what you're passionate about to help others. And then at the end of your essay, share how you match the values with the scholarship organization. Remember I talked about knowing their mission, vision? That's where that research came in on the plan. You want to tie that back in now. I resonate with your core values because this, and this matters most to me too. So go to their About Us page on their website, their mission page, their vision page, pull out a few keywords that really resonate with you. It doesn't have to be a lot of statistics or facts, but you just need to make that connection. These are some of the topics that I definitely see essays being written on all the time. Careers, challenges, change, character, leadership, financial need, personal statement. If you were to try to figure out which essay should I start with first, start with a personal statement. Sometimes they just want you to write and they don't want to pick the topic for you. That's one you can always keep in your repertoire and recycle. Make sure you get individuals to proofread your essay. Make sure that you demonstrate the knowledge on that entity. We already talked about that and how you can make a difference. Save all your content. Never delete or throw away essay content. Why? Because you can repurpose it. Because the next time you have to write an essay on leadership, and title your essays when you save them on your computer, save them as Coca-Cola and then in parentheses leadership essay. Now you already know if you see another leadership essay in your inbox or your scholarships, you can go back and quickly search, oh, I already did one on leadership. Pull that and use that as the starting point, and then you tailor it from there. Now, and for those of my dear non-writers who really just don't really like to write, I do offer and I recommend if you go to a Chrome browser, if you use a Chrome browser and you go to Google Docs It's a great tool. If you want to just talk like I'm talking now and you want to get your thoughts out, it will translate your words into text and put them on the page for you. Then you go back and clean it up, move it around, and turn it into a real essay. But it'll save you a lot of time from just sitting there typing it all in. You can just talk it and it'll translate it to words, and then you update it from there. Never submit an essay just from translating it to text that you haven't proofread, though. It will not work out like you think it will. And then I've already talked about proofreading your essay, but I do want to re-emphasize this point. You are not the best writer. You probably are a really great writer, but we all unconsciously have errors that can be proofread. Check your spelling, your punctuation, formatting, accuracy. Make sure you're following the directions. And get someone you trust other than you. You should not be your own only proofreader. Get somebody unbiased to look it over for you that you trust. Also, other resources. I use this through many grad school programs that I found myself in. Grammarly, EasyBib, Grammar Lookup. You can upload your whole paper into Grammarly, for example. And a few minutes later, it'll spit out grammatical errors that they found in your writing. This is very humbling. All throughout grad school, I'm like, yeah, my paper is on point. I will put it into Grammarly and come back and say, it's a lot of red ink on here. But that's what helped me to strengthen my writing capabilities. So use these online tools to help you as well. And then you can go back and it'll give you great suggestions on how to improve your writing. So that really brings me close to the end. Oh, somebody asked a question about AI. I'm glad you asked. AI is a great tool, but is not the best. It's not the sole tool you should be using. You should use AI just as you use Grammarly to help create your initial words. But once it creates a couple of different versions of how you could word it, you need to go in and personalize it, because do know that there are also a lot of educators, because they're finding a lot of students now who are using AI and turning in papers that way. They have a new AI evaluating tool that will now detect if you use AI for your paper. So they got AI tools to detect AI. So I would just say use it responsibly and use it as a tool. And once you create something in AI, you still need to go back and proofread it, put your personal touch on it, and customize it to your writing style. Never just submit anything based on AI. Yes, Ms. Roxanne.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I wanted to weigh in on that a little bit, just because we found it overwhelming. We did track. I mean, we didn't have something as lovely as what you had to track the scholarships applied for and how much received and all of that. It's overwhelming to be graduating from high school. My daughter doesn't have just ADHD. She has more than one learning disability, all of this stuff. Plus, you got to write all these scholarship essays, and not just that, there were other things, because she submitted letters to schools kind of explaining her learning disabilities, providing the documentation of her learning disabilities in consideration of her application for the school. So I agree. You can't use it irresponsibly, and you can't use it as the only thing as to replace. But I do want to say that it was helpful. But you have to use your own brain. For example, there was a question saying, what do you think is the biggest challenge to address in the next 10 years, something like that. Now, if you ask AI, write an essay on what you think is the biggest challenge to address in the next 10 years, you're not using your own brain, But I remember that particular essay because I think we had 3 essays due that week, plus school was still in. And so my daughter sat down and thought about what she thought was the biggest challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And then had AI start the essay using the information that she input into it, and then went back and personalized it and so on. So I just wanted to say that as for some people looking at all this, it can seem really overwhelming. And in situations like if you have to write a letter to the school for something, you might want to use AI to start that because it's just overwhelming, or to do the first draft of one of those essays, especially when you have a whole lot of them due around the same time.
Excellent comments, and you're absolutely right. It is a tool. You got to use your own brain. I just watched, I don't know if anybody else watched, Oprah Winfrey last week just did this special on AI. And AI is both exciting and scary in terms of how people can use and abuse it. And so we have to be careful and use it responsibly, even with our academic writing, so that we're not getting ourselves in situations where we're looking like we're not necessarily plagiarizing, but less than authentic in how we show up. And so that would be definitely a recommendation that I would offer in terms of how to use AI. It is a resource. It is not the begin all end all. So I wouldn't encourage you to only rely on AI. So that brings us to the end of the talk, really. But I just really want to emphasize that no matter what your personal situation, there are scholarships available to help you, whether you want to go to an associate, a four-year community college, work on an associate's, bachelor's degree, vocational, all those different type of educational programs have funding opportunities. So check those out, do your research, use Google, start your scholarship application process early. I often have young adults ask me, well, how long should I look for scholarships? Until you have the funding you need for every year that you're getting an education. Scholarships are more than just first year scholarships or high school senior scholarships. You can look for scholarships every year while you are in school. You can apply. You just have to find the right ones that you're eligible for, but they're out there. Also, make sure you get organized and put together a system that works for you. My tools may be great to use, but then you might find that, you know what, I have a similar tool already that I'm going to keep using. I get what Dr. Christie's saying, but I already use X, Y, Z. So keep using what you're using if it's working, but make sure you have some things in place that help you. Set up an email just for your business or professional purposes. Have a file system on your computer. I have folders with both my son's name on them. If you drill down the next level, it'll say college. If you drill down, it'll have each college they applied for and all those details, and I keep them all in one place. Save your passwords. And what I usually tell high schoolers, make sure your parents have access to your passwords too, because sometimes they'll need to go in, look at something, or maybe give you some guidance on what you're doing. And so you want to make sure that you share those things with your parents. Don't run from the essays. I've given you some great strategies. I also have, let's see, what's the next slide? I also have YouTube videos, and one of which it goes into a lot more detail on essay writing and how to get letters of recommendation, for example. But use the resources that you have access to. That's really the key takeaway. The other thing I do is when I hear about those unique scholarships, I post them on my social media for those who follow me on my Instagram, my Scholarship for Scholars group. I'm also on TikTok, and I share a lot of educational information there. And on Facebook, I have a group called Scholarships for Scholars. So if you join those groups, when I hear about scholarships that I don't think a lot of people are applying for, I'm going to put them in there. And my group of, I think I have almost 800 people in my group now. And I just started this a couple of years ago. And they're like, oh, Dr. Christie. And they've actually won scholarships from the ones I've posted in that group. So join as well and keep your efforts going. And so with that being said, I'm going to stop sharing and ask you if you have any questions, any other questions that I haven't already addressed. I'm also putting in the chat the link, as I promised, to get to my templates online. Okay, I just dropped that in the chat. It should work. So any of the templates that I talked about and others from my book, if you use that link, it'll take you to my college funding page, and it'll show you, if you keep scrolling down, it'll have each one of my templates there for you to download and use. But I hope that this conversation was helpful to all of you. Everybody has a unique journey and path to navigating their careers and their educational pursuits. Never, ever, ever feel like your path has to look like somebody else's. I don't even recommend encouraging you to compare your situation with other people's. Your situation is uniquely yours. And so you just have to find the right strategies and put together a winning plan that's going to help you to be successful. At the end of the day, you need to make sure you get what you need. If you need to look for scholarships and find extra funding sources, use these strategies to help you to do just that. And every year while you're in school, just know that there are opportunities available to you. So with that being said, thank you all so very much tonight. Ms. Waller, I'll turn it back over to you if you have any closing remarks.
Thank you so much. I just want to say thank you so much, Dr. Christie. Thank you, Ms.
Yes.
Waller, Chiquita. That's you always giving us the good stuff. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. I plan to have more webinars with Dr. Murray in reference like internships, how to write essays and things like that. So I really appreciate you all for attending the webinar.